All right, CNT140, we're doing our phone cabling lab. So in the first section here, if you will, we configured the switch and we configured the basics on the router. We did the router IP, we did the DHCP scope, and then we did the general telephony config. So now we're going to get into the specific telephony config. So here we're going to add the directory numbers. These would be the actual phone numbers, and in some cases you actually put a name there to say, 1001 is Doug Brown, and 1002 is Sally Smith, and 1003 is Bill Smith, and so forth. Okay, so that's what we're going to do here first. We're going to say EPhone DN1, and you notice it's going to pop up saying, hey, I've created this. So now we're going to put the specifics in. We're going to put the number in. We're going to put our phone number in, if you will. The phone extension will dial to get that phone. That's the first one. We're going to exit, and we're going to say EPhone DN2. Hit the enter key again, number 1002. Exit. EPhone DN3. Hit the enter key, number 1003. So now we have 3 phone numbers, if you will, configured. So I'm just going to do an exit and show run and show you what's going on. There was our DHCP scope that we did earlier, plus the excluded address, holding back the first handful of numbers. There's the IP address on the router. Here's the general telephony config we did earlier. Here are the 3 DNs that we just configured, 1001, 1002, 1003. So now we need to actually plug in the devices, the actual phones that will be in the network, the physical things in the network. Now, real quickly, we plug in the people or the phone numbers as one entity, and then we plug the phones or physical devices as a separate entity, and then eventually we tie the two together. That allows flexibility in the network. If Doug Brown leaves the company and George Smith takes over, we can just plug in George Smith. We don't need to throw the phone out because Doug left. We can literally just put a new name in and tie it to that phone sitting on what used to be Doug Brown's desk. So we actually do these as 2 pieces, and then we eventually tie them together. All right. So now that we have the numbers in, we're now going to plug in the physical devices. And we need to do this by MAC address, and that actually allows for flexibility in the company. As Doug Brown moves to a new office, you can literally take the phone with you, plug it in, and all that information retains because the phone MAC address has not changed. It's just showed up elsewhere in the network. So to do this, we do need to get the MAC addresses off all 3 devices, the ATA, the IP phone, and the PC. So let me do this real quick. All right. I need to come in here, and I'll hover the mouse over the ATA device and grab its MAC address. Now, these should be the ones that will be on your map, but just verify to make sure Mr. Brown didn't make a typo. So I'm going to hold it over here, and I'm going to look at the right side there, 0060.4752.7C01. And I'm going to verify that here. Okay, make sure there's no typos. Now remember, this is a hex number, so there are zeros, not O's, zeros, not O's. 0 through 9, A through F are the digits. Okay, so there's the MAC address of the ATA, and watch that syntax. That's the syntax Cisco wants. The IP phone that's here, we'll hover over this guy, and we're going to record the address of the MAC address next to VLAN 1. So in this one, it's 00E0, 8F80, and so forth. 8F80, 85B4. And then over here on the PC, we'll hold over this guy and grab the MAC address next to Fast Ethernet 0. 004, 9A, 93, so forth. Okay? So double check me, make sure those are right. We need those. It matters. A typo here causes the phone not to work. So you really have to be careful and get those right. Now that we have those, we can now configure the ePhones individually. So I'm going to go back into the router, and let's do this first ePhone. So I'm going to do config T, and we're going to do the ePhone for, let me get here's our router config right there. We're going to do the first ePhone, which will be the ATA. So we'll say in this guy ePhone 1, and it says, okay, what's the MAC address? So MAC address, and I need to put it in exactly as it shows, exactly as the format that when I looked it up, which would be this right here. So I'm going to cheat a little bit, and since I put these in very carefully, I'm going to do copy, and I'm going to come over here and I'm going to do paste. and I'll double check 006047527C01 looks good. Hit the enter key. I'm going to indicate the type. Well, if I do type question mark, you'll see these are the different types. The IP phones in Cisco Packet Tracer are 7960s. This ATA that I'm using is ATA, and the soft phone is CIPC, Cisco IP Phone Communicator. So since I'm configuring the ATA at this point, I will type in type ATA. And the last thing I do is, this is a confusing command, but this actually now ties the EPhone to the DN. Okay, so we're doing EPhone 1, and we're going to say, hey, I want to tie this to DN1. All right, now, you'll see there's a number : number. The first number here, the first number that's here, is the actual physical button on the phone that we want to put the phone number on. So if I have a phone, let me go over here real quick. Let me go to this guy. If I actually have, oop, he's not powered up, so he's not going to show it to me. All right, let me go. I'll go to this one. This will work. If I go to this guy here, you see how there's multiple buttons here for different, for calling different numbers? I can associate a phone number with any one of these buttons I want. So I'm going to put the phone number on the first button, if you will. That's what I'm going to do. So this command here says the first physical button, or the physical button on the phone that I want to put the phone number on, in this case 1, tie it to, that's what the little colon is, tie it to DN number over here. Well, I'm going to tie EPhone 1 to DN1 on the first button. So it's going to be physical button tied to DN1. So I'm actually going to use the command button 1:1. First physical button on the phone, tied to, the little colon is tied to, if you will, DN1. That one is done. Okay. Now, here's all the verbiage to explain examples of how to use this button command. So if it's confusing, spend a little time looking at that. That might help you untangle you. We're now going to do the second and third phone. So I'm going to do exit here, and we're going to do EPhone 2. We need the MAC address of this guy, MAC address, and I'm going to do the IP phone now, so I'm going to grab this MAC address here, copy, paste, oops, paste, there we go, 00E0 8F8085B4, looking good. The type on this one is the 7960, because it is the actual IP phone that I'm dealing with. Okay. Now on this one, we want the first physical button on the phone to be associated with DN2. So we're going to say button, the first physical button on the phone tied to DN2. That one's good. Now we're going to do the third EPhone, EPhone 3. MAC address, this is going to be the PC that we're doing. This guy right here. So the soft phone, the PC, is now going to be EPhone 3. We're going to say type on this guy. And if you forget the syntax, question mark, it's going to be CIPC. CIPC, Cisco IP Communicator. The button on this one is going to be the first physical button on this device tied to DN3. Okay? So now we have first, second, and third phones configured in my router. Whoop, whoop. Okay? I am actually done with my router config for my phones. So what I can do is I can do exit, I can do show run, and start looking. Here's my, again, my excluded addresses, my DHCP pool. Here's my, oops, down a little bit further, here's my IP address that we configured. Down here's the general telephony config. Here is the DNs, 1, 2, 3. And now here is my actual physical phones, EPhone 1, 2, 3. Yahoo! Copy, run, start on this to save our config. And I may want to even come up here and do a save on this guy so I don't lose my config. Alright, in the next podcast we will hook up our clients and do some tests.